Well, let's get on to my next guest, William Yarwood, who is a spokesperson for the Taxpayers Alliance, who's going to talk to me about this breaking news before we get to another story about the Bank of England. William, how are you?
Good evening, Jonathan. Thanks for having me on the show.
William, what's your take on Sadiq Khan becoming Sir Sadiq?
Oh, I mean, you know, is it still Halloween or is this the first nightmare of Christmas? I don't know, Jonathan. But quite frankly, I think it's completely and utterly outrageous. The way Sadiq Khan has ran London for the last few years while he's been mayor has been completely and utterly dismal. I mean, one of your callers mentioned there the amount of taxpayers' cash that's been wasted on that, on the renaming of tube lines to the Suffragette line and other virtue signalling names. That's cost taxpayers £6.3 million. All the while, he spends little time actually clamping down on live crime that goes on in London, and indeed, with regards to the trains. I mean, have you been on a tube in London lately? Most of them don't even work. You know, they have a little bit of rain on the line, you know, and they just completely and utterly collapse. And instead of actually investing this money back into TfL to try and make these train lines a little bit better, he's spending it on virtue signalling. So quite frankly, I'm completely and utterly amazed, but I'm very, very annoyed, and I'm sure you're annoyed and your viewers are right to be annoyed as well.
Well, I've just been told, William, that we've now got the reason. He will receive his award for political and public service after almost two decades in frontline politics. The idea that just because you've done 2 decades in frontline politics should somehow give you an award, I find absurd. Don't get me wrong, the Conservative Party have awarded people on the basis of this thing as well. I think it goes to the core of the system that needs reforming. But I don't understand award for his political and public service. That, I think a lot of people are going to find hard to swallow. But look, I'm really keen as well, William, to get your views on the fact that Rachel Reeves' budget is unravelling, despite all the people saying, give it time, people are going to see, it's a smart move by Labour. We had certain commentariat telling us that this is all going to go well. Labour's landed the budget well. They're all happy that Jeremy Clarkson's angry about farming. They're happy that they've got the winter fuel payment done early because the voters will forget in 4 years' time. They're happy that it's big businesses who are moaning because it shows that they're out of touch with reality. Well, the OBR's said some pretty choice things about their budget. The IFS has said some pretty choice things. And now the Bank of England is making some quite serious warnings that half of firms will slash jobs and raise prices. What's your view, William, on this budget, and how long do you think this is going to hold before they're going to have to make some big changes?
Yeah, well, I mean, of all people, Rachel Reeves should certainly be listening to the Bank of England. After all, she allegedly worked there for a long time as an economist, so she surely should listen to their advice. But to be serious for a moment, I mean, a lot of these policies that have come out of the budget and are now, as you've said, various organisations are saying are not going to work. I mean, a lot of people were saying this before the budget even happened, when Labour was testing out these policies with the press and with the public, and yet they went through it anyway. Because I think generally, Jonathan, this budget wasn't really about fixing the foundations or fixing this 22 billion black hole that, you know, doesn't exist. It was purely and utterly ideological. It's to slam success, slam businesses. And you mentioned big businesses there being attacked. It's not just big businesses that are going to be effective. It's going to be small, medium enterprises that are effective. It's going to be the self-employed. So when small businesses come to look at their books next Easter, they're going to be saying, you know, the money I have to pay on this national insurance now, I could have, you know, increased my employer's wage, I could have invested somewhere else, I could have opened a new shop, but now it's going to make them their life even harder. They're going to look for cuts, they're going to cut jobs, and quite frankly, if Rachel Reeves wants growth, she needs to reverse on quite a lot of these policies, because if she doesn't, well, you know, disaster is on the way.
Do you think, are you the Taxpayers Alliance in touch with many businesses? And like you say, it's the bulk of small and medium-sized businesses that are going to get screwed, particularly on this these NI changes. They haven't got loud voices. They haven't got glossy PR firms to help make their voice. So Labour might be happy that they're hearing from Tesco moaning about the fact they're going to have to put prices up. Well, that's fine. But actually, it's the people that supply Tesco that are about to get screwed. The farmers, it's the pensioners who relied on going to Tesco to get their food that are now not only having their 300 quid robbed from their pocket from their winter fuel payment, but they're now not going to be able to afford the food that's on the shelves as prices rocket either. It's the small businesses that maybe provide local talent support or training or even marketing advice to local shops as well. Are you guys at Taxpayers Alliance seeing that there's a storm on the horizon? As you say, Labour might not see it now, but it's going to come in the Easter right before those local elections.
Yeah, completely. And you mentioned the farmers there. We at the TPA are actually at the farmers' protest just the other week, talking to farmers on the ground, understanding what their concerns were. And a lot of them were completely and utterly distraught because all they want to do, Jonathan, is feed Britain, is feed the people, is look after the environment, is, provide a service for their country, and also more importantly, actually carry on the heritage of their family, which many of them have been in family farms for generations. But what's a bunch of trade union apparatchiks, bureaucrats and lawyers in Whitehall going to know anything about that? But yeah, I mean, we at the TPA have been quite forthright about our opinions about this budget ever since it came out. And we're 100% going to stand up for small businesses, 100% is going to stand up for farmers, and 100% going to stand up for anyone else who's been hurt by this frankly egregious and hurtful budget.
Well, look, thank you to William Yarwood from the Taxpayers Alliance, a great spokesperson who's making, I think, common sense arguments. It's been great to have you on, and Rachel Reeves is going to have to pay attention.